morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am Lilac Boots, and this is The Scroll. Thanks for coming back. I know last week was a little hectic, got a little in my feelings, but they were justifiable. So let's move on. We're going to start with the general news. Right now, there's someone who is taking a lot of Xbox and Dreamcast prototypes and putting them into this wonderful archival project. So, Project Deluge, a video game archival project from the Hidden Palace, may be the single biggest game preservation effort yet undertaken. Since March, this dedicated group of video game archivists has been releasing many hundreds of unreleased prototypes for classic systems, and now it's the Dreamcast and Xbox's turn. Project Deluge publicly launched in March of 2021 as an archival project dedicated to documenting and uploading never-before-released game ROMs from the massive catalog of one extremely dedicated collector. This includes prototypes, early press copies, mid-localization builds, and perhaps most exciting, entire unreleased games. Each of them is dumped by the apparently very nice owner, checked for differences from the final build, and then finally playtested by a devoted team of archivists. The unique features of each build are then cataloged and a disk image is uploaded to the archive. The project's debut back in March saw it release over 700 pre-release curiosities for the PlayStation 2. Some Saturn, PlayStation, and CDI protos followed in April, and just a few days ago, on September 18th, the team completed the gargantuan task of documenting almost 500 Dreamcast and Xbox prototypes, which are now available for everyone to check out. Each of the 135 Dreamcast prototypes included in this batch had to be dumped by hand using retail hardware. Dreamcast GD-ROM discs can only be read by Dreamcast because Sega used a proprietary 1GB disc format it called GD-ROM. To actually pull the data off of these prototype builds, which were then uploaded to and scanned by the archival team, the dumper had to use a vintage Sega-made boot disc called System Disc 2. This allows a retail Dreamcast to read pre-release GD-ROM builds, at which point the dumper can pull them from the console's serial port using an SD card reader. This process then repeats for every single disc. Notable games from the Dreamcast dump include prototype builds of Ill Bleed and Tony Hawk Pro Skater, both of which have debug modes and a version of Sega GT with Luigi in it. An important thing to note about that Pro Skater build is that the code to remove the game's HUD while in debug mode is SLUT, which is kind of messed up, but I personally find it entertaining. The project's Xbox ROM release is much larger and includes 349 games, none of which were made before me or after me, I'm not sure. According to the archivists, Xbox discs are less proprietary than Dreamcast discs, but also less consistent, presenting a whole different suite of problems when it comes to preservation. Xbox games are usually printed on dual-layer DVDs with distinct DVD video and Xbox game partitions, but some prototypes are also on CD-ROM. This makes them annoying to dump and even harder to check for build differences, as you have to determine whether you're looking at two different builds or the same build on two different styles of disc. In spite of these difficulties, a ton of unique and interesting prototypes ended up included in this batch. There's the earliest known Psychonauts preview build, a Jet Set Radio Future prototype, and a build of the Shrek video game which barely predates the final retail build. There are hundreds of unique games in this lot, some of which were never released. The VATS stands out as an incredibly early demo of a cancelled game, which includes pitch notes to explain goals and ideas to potential investors or press. These are just a handful of examples of the really cool shit included in the most recent release from Project Deluge. To this point, they've assessed over 4,000 discs. Some have turned out to be duplicates or identical to retail builds, and have apparently only scratched the surface of the full collection. Look forward to more wild finds as the project continues to delve into, document, and release its massive stash of lost relics. Next, Nvidia is releasing a new display driver today that adds DLSS, which stands for Deep Learning Super Sampling, support to 28 games, and is now certified for both Windows 10 and Windows 11. The 28 additional DLSS games brings the total of games to more than 100, an important milestone for Nvidia's AI-based temporal upscaling. DLSS upscale games from a lower resolution to provide smoother frame rates without a noticeable compromise in image quality. Most of the new DLSS editions come courtesy of the Unreal Engine 4 DLSS plugin, that's making it easier for developers to integrate DLSS into their games. Alan Wake Remastered will ship with DLSS support next month, and Nvidia is promising an up to 2x performance, an up to 2 times performance boost at 4K. Every GeForce RTX GPU can get over 60 frames per second at max settings in 4K with DLSS enabled. And it means cards like the RTX 2080 Ti jump from an average of 70 frames per second to 120 frames per second according to Nvidia. The Industrial releasing on September 30th will also include DLSS support alongside support for a new Nvidia DLAA, which stands for Deep Learning Anti-Aliasing, AI-based anti-aliasing mode on Elder Scrolls Online test servers. DLAA is designed for users who have spare GPU headroom and want higher levels of image quality, according to Nvidia. It works similarly to DLSS, but instead of boosting performance, it boosts image quality instead. Today's Nvidia driver also includes Windows 11 support with optimizations for Alan Wake Remastered, Deathloop, Diablo 2 Resurrected, Far Cry 6, Hot Wheels Unleashed, Industria, New World, and World War Z Aftermath. I personally have an Nvidia GPU, not GPU, yes I do, Nvidia GPU on my gaming laptop. It has helped a lot as far as a lot of those bigger games, but I do eventually want to upgrade to a new GPU, only because I play The Sims a lot, and that takes up a lot, even though it doesn't seem like much, but it takes a lot. Okay, next, video game giant Electronic Arts has closed the $1.4 billion acquisition of Britain-based mobile games studio Playdemic, known for the Golf Clash franchise from AT&T's Warner Brothers Games. It is the latest takeover boosting its sports and mobile business. The cash deal will be adding to our growing mobile portfolio and expanding our leadership in sports, said EA CEO Andrew Wilson. The addition of the incredible Playdemic team not only adds to the strength of our mobile teams globally, it also continues our expansion and investment in UK-based talent. With Playdemic now part of Electronic Arts, we're excited to bring even more amazing and innovative mobile games to diverse audiences around the world. With more than 80 million downloads globally to date, Golf Clash is one of the leading mobile games in the US and UK, EA said. With the addition of Playdemic, the Electronic Arts portfolio now spans more than 18 top mobile live services across fast-growing genres, including lifestyle, casual, sports, and mid-core games, it added. Said Paul George, head of studio at Playdemic, said his team would, quote, both continue to build on Golf Clash's incredible success and to build new games, which we believe can be even more successful in entertaining and engaging audiences globally, end quote. EA has been using acquisitions to boost its presence in growth areas. Quote, as mobile continues to be the world's biggest and fastest growing gaming platform, this acquisition is another step in Electronic Arts' strategy of continued leadership, end quote, the company said. Quote, with the additions of Codemasters, Glue Mobile, Metalhead Software, and now Playdemic in the past year, EA continues to bring together talented teams, industry-leading franchises and IP, and innovative technology to deliver amazing experiences that connect hundreds of millions of players together in play. Yeah, so you guys know how I feel about EA. I mean, I'm grateful for The Sims and Battlefield, but I mean, they need to work on not being greedy. That's all I'm gonna say. Alright, next, for all my Pokemon people, it's actually happening. The Pokemon Company is finally giving the world a straightforward way to play the Pokemon trade carding game digitally, online, and on your smartphone. Announced today, the new app is called Pokemon TCG Live, and it couldn't be coming at a better time with the Pokemon in-game once again exploding in popularity. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wasn't there already a Pokemon TCG app? And yes, there is. It's called the Pokemon TCG Online app, and it does let you collect cards and battle people online, but it's old, a mess, and was only supported on web browsers and tablets. Pokemon TCG Live is now set to replace it, bringing a digital version of the card game to smartphones in an updated digital format. In addition to deck building and online battles, TCG Live will also include customizable avatars, daily quests, and other free-to-play live service elements like battle passes. Most importantly, like the original TCG Online app, players will still be able to upload the cards they get from real-life booster packs to their digital collection. The Pokemon Company doesn't mention microtransactions specifically in today's announcement, so we'll have to wait to see exactly how the in-game economy shakes out. But for now, it does sound like you can earn new cards and avatar accessories without spending money. Today's news comes as the trading card game celebrates its 25th anniversary and is in some ways more popular than ever. While the 2021 Pokemon World Championships were canceled due to the ongoing pandemic, the last few years have seen new people flock to the scene as prices for the rarest cards skyrocket and packs for new sets fly off store shelves. One of the nice things about an app, of course, is that people can enjoy the card game without ever having to get involved in the messy frenzy around physical card pack buying and speculation. TCG Online served a similar purpose, but was often the last resort for many given its clumsy interface and lack of availability on mobile. TCG Online will be sunset just prior to TCG Live's official launch. The new app is set for a soft launch Canada and global beta later this year, but doesn't have a final release date yet. Players of the former will have a chance to transfer most of their stuff over to the latter when it comes out, per a full FAQ over on the Pokemon Company's website. Hopefully, during the interim, it finds a way to get TCG Live on the Nintendo Switch, because, I mean, come on now. Alright, for my Dragon Age fans, which, I mean, everybody knows that's mostly me, but Dragon Age 4 is confirmed to be in development, leaving players to wonder whether or not the Warden will make an appearance in the story. So the Dragon Age series puts players in control of some very powerful and important characters within its universe. Throughout the games, players stop a blight that could have destroyed the world, eventually lead the city of Kirkwall, and run the Inquisition on a holy quest. These roles help put players in interesting positions in the game's world, but also let them make important decisions, the impacts of which have rippling effects on Dragon Age titles to follow. This understandably makes new Dragon Age games have to accommodate numerous possible decisions that players have made, which is no small task. This is especially true when it comes to the characters of Dragon Age that can be changed in numerous ways throughout a playthrough. Many of them could even end up dead and not show up in future titles at all. This is especially true for the characters that a player controls, such as Hawk from Dragon Age 2. However, with Dragon Age 4 in development, fans have started wondering just how Hawk and the Warden from Dragon Age Origins could play into the new title, which will depend a lot on how players left those characters in the past. So regarding the Warden in Dragon Age Origins, one of the biggest changes to the Warden that players make in Dragon Age Origins comes at the start of the game, when players decide the Warden's race and backstory. This can include possibilities like an elf living in the slums, a human noble, or a wizard training away from their family. Either way, the Warden eventually joins with the Grey Warden Duncan to help the group of elite soldiers fight back the surge of evil darkspawn threatening to destroy the world, known as the Blight. Many fans theorize that the Darkspawn will play into the villain's plan in Dragon Age 4, which could lead to the Warden appearing in the new title. However, that may not be possible, as at the end of Dragon Age Origins, players discover that a Grey Warden must be sacrificed to stop the Blight. This can be either the player's Warden or one of their companions, unless players decide to perform a dangerous ritual with the Witch Morrigan. This decision is very important in determining the Warden's state at the time of Dragon Age 4, as they can either be dead or become the ruler of the Grey Wardens like at the start of the DLC for Dragon Age Origins. So this is now the Warden's involvement in Dragon Age Origins DLC. In the Awakening expansion for Dragon Age Origins, the Grey Wardens are given the fortress of Vigil's Keep to rule over the Arling of Amarithan. However, it is revealed that the Darkspawn have yet to retreat after the end of the base campaign, and the Warden discovers that the Darkspawn split into two warring factions led by mysterious figures known as the Mother and the Architect. This comes to a head when the Mother splits her army to attack both Vigil's Keep and the city of Amaranthine, which forces the Warden to decide which to save. This choice also has a big impact on Dragon Age's world state moving forward. Either way, the Mother is defeated and the Architect offers the Commander peace if they and their Darkspawn are left alone in peace. The Warden can either slay the Architect or leave them alone as requested. Dragon Age Origins Witch Hunt DLC sees the Warden hunting down Morrigan after the events of the game, while also trying to find a magical mirror that allows travel between Thedas and the Fate. At the end of the DLC, the Warden finds Morrigan after learning about the terrible things that Morrigan has done throughout Dragon Age's history. The Warden can then make 3 different choices. Primarily, they can stab Morrigan, sending her tumbling into a portal so her ultimate fate is unknown, or they can let her travel through the portal to the Fate undisturbed. If players completed Morrigan's ritual at the end of Dragon Age Origins, however, they can also choose to leave their role as a Grey Warden and join Morrigan in walking through the portal. Now, as far as the Warden's whereabouts in Dragon Age 2 and Dragon Age Inquisition, they don't make much of an appearance in Dragon Age 2, but is referenced a few times throughout the game. The Warden is first brought up at the start of the game when Varric is being interrogated by Cassandra, and then Hawke asks Bodan Fedek about their association with the Warden when they first meet. Hawke can also run into Alistair when fighting through the streets of Kirkwall if Alistair survived Dragon Age Origins and stayed with the Grey Wardens. Otherwise, he can be met at the Viscount's Keep if he was made the King of Ferelden. If the Warden survived in Dragon Age Origins, they can also be referenced on multiple occasions in Dragon Age Inquisition. Throughout conversations in the game, it is revealed that the Warden is searching for a way to prevent the Calling, which sees Grey Wardens being driven mad as a consequence of their interactions with the Darkspawn. Grey Warden tradition sees Wardens venturing into the deep roads to slay as many Darkspawn as they can before ultimately dying from the Calling themselves. The Inquisitor can also send the Warden a letter and receive one back. Meanwhile, different conversations throughout the game will reference the Warden's relationship with various characters. It will be interesting to see how Dragon Age 4 deals with the numerous different possibilities from the decisions that the players have made across these 3 games. There are undoubtedly a lot of choices that the game will have to account for, but if it is able to do so well, it could make for a very special experience. Hopefully Dragon Age 4 will bring back the Warden and other player characters from throughout the series while also introducing some great new characters. Dragon Age 4 is currently in development. So I'm definitely excited. My first Dragon Age game was Inquisition, so I didn't have that much choice as far as making all of those decisions. And I mean, I don't want to spoil Inquisition for people, but as far as the Grey Wardens, there's a certain thing that happens with a certain character, and you basically find out more information. But it's not enough, I don't think, to have that much of an effect maybe on Dragon Age 4, but we'll see. You never know. Alright, a little bit of sad news today. Iconic 90s video game artist Mick McGinty, passes away. Mick McGinty, who was known for such classic video game box covers as Street Fighter II and Streets of Rage 2, passes away peacefully. While there may be some who are not familiar with his name, there will be those gamers who grew up in the early 90s and beyond who will be very familiar with the work of Mick McGinty. The legendary artist was known for creating the box art for some of the most recognizable and classic arcade games of a bygone era. Sadly, it has been recently reported that the artist passed away peacefully just a couple of days ago. In a recent post by his son Joby, the creator of some of the most famous video game artwork and posters from the early console generation of the late 80s and early 90s, has died. In a passionate letter about his father, Joby said he was surrounded by his family, having reassured the artist that they would be with him until the end. Mick McGinty was a well-known in various fields, but it's arguably his work with video games, particularly during the Sega Genesis era, that many will remember him fondly for. His artistry was iconic during this time, with his most famous box art being for the legendary beat-em-up game Street Fighter II, which recently turned 30 years old. The cover for the game became instantly recognizable, with fans depicting a fierce-looking Blanca in a roll attack heading towards Chun-Li as she prepares to defend herself. Both the game and the artwork have become classics in the video game world since. However, it wasn't just Street Fighter II he did box artwork for. He also worked on another 90s Genesis classic beat-em-up game, Streets of Rage 2, with the cover depicting an alleyway Royal Rumble with the main characters Blaze, Axel, Skate, and Max slugging it out with some thugs. Even though the Streets of Rage series had a huge hiatus, the franchise did return last year, and Streets of Rage 4 became one of the best co-op games of 2020. As well received as Streets of Rage 4 was, many fans will likely think back to the second installment as one of the franchise's crowning achievements, and much of that status is likely owed to McGinty's artwork. It wasn't just fighting games he was known for either. He also did the cover for every single iteration of the business management sim Zoo Tycoon, a series which runs the gamut from 2001 to 2017. Overall, Mick McGinty was an extremely talented artist. His passing on Saturday will leave the art community and the video game world in mourning, but his iconic work will live on forever. I personally had Zoo Tycoon growing up as a kid. I had both of them, the first one and the second one, with the expansion disc, and I had no idea that he also did Streets of Rage and Street Fighter, so it was really cool that he did all of that art, and I hope he rests in peace. Alright, so we'll be right back with our video game anniversaries and other announcements. Be right back. And we're back. Alright, so today is the 25th anniversary of the original Persona. The Japanese release came out in 1996 for the original PlayStation. Next, it is also the 21st anniversary of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, which also came out for the original PlayStation. And it's the it's the 17th anniversary for Def Jam Fight for New York. That came out on the PS2 in 2004, and it is the 16th year anniversary of both Fable: The Lost Chapters on PC and X-Men Legends 2: Rise of Apocalypse for the PS2. So that's it for our game anniversaries. I don't really have any announcements today, but that's alright. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening. Bye.